Hello, how you doing? My name's Corey. This is my solution for homework number A-2. This is the evaluation demo. As you can see, we've got here a list of stocks, bonds. We put them into an array list called stocks. We print them out, and then we want to sort them, despite them being two different object types, and then print them out in sorted order. So that covers it for the demo. Let's move on to evaluation.java. This is the custom interface we were asked to make. So this interface valuation has a method total return, returns a double, and percent return returns a double. But we don't do anything with that there. Move on to security. This is the parent class of bond and common stock. Security implements valuation, the interface we just saw, and comparable security. So we are going to be able to compare objects. But in order to do that, we have to use the compare to method. The interesting thing here is, for things like valuation, we actually don't need to compare. Sorry about that. What I mean is we don't need to implement evaluation methods in security as long as we have derived classes that implement its methods. This will work without problem. So if you notice throughout security there are no methods total return and return percent, or what was it? Percent return. However, we do need this, and this is a bit tricky. There's a reason why professionals don't use comparable anymore, and it's because it gets messy when you start working with multiple objects. But we're doing it here as an exercise. So basically what we're doing is like a normal compare to, right? We're overriding it so that we first compare the ISIN of security object and then the issuer. If the ISIN is not equal to 0, then we're going to return it because it's that means there's something different about it. If it is 0, there's nothing different about the ISIN, so there's nothing to compare or sort there. So we move on to the else, which is get issuer compared to other issuer, and then we return that. We return that because there's nothing else to compare. That gets returned to bond, and in bond we have int result equals super compare to O. And that super compare to O is the result from here, or here, if this gets returned. And if the, or sorry, not from here. If this gets returned, then that's just how the sorting happens, is by ISIN. Sorry about that. So if this ends up going all the way through to bond, then we'll be able to compare it and cast it to a bond object, and this is how we prevent class cast exceptions. Is this 3-line snippet of code here? The super compare to O thing is very important. It means it's basically the computer's way of double checking that this is actually a bond object that's supposed to be set here. And then we actually go through and compare all the instance variables. Same thing with the compare to here. Same deal. This runs exactly the same, except this is different, and a couple things down here are different, the instance variables. So the next thing, we have our percent return and total return. In common stock and bond, they're both different, but they both return a double, and that just shows that in action there. I'll show those there. If you don't know, it's for things like interest rate, it's usually principal times rate times time. Most of these calculations are pretty simple, so I'm not going to go over them too deeply. As far as the toString goes, my teacher from the first semester liked to teach this string format, and I quite like it. Makes it very simple. So you can just print everything on one line and then have all the variables on the next line, and it just looks neater. And it works well with money formatting. So like this right here is pretty cool. So you have the $sign, then you have the format operator, the %sign. Then you have a comma. And what the comma does is put a comma every 3 zeros so that, you know, you have a real number forming instead of just a bunch of zeros together. And then the .2 only shows the last 2 decimal places. So that's a cool little piece of code. Then we got the hash code and equals method. Hash code and equals are, if you have overridden the equals method, then it is necessary to have a hash code. That's just part of Java. You need to have the object's memory address. And a hash code can also be used in comparing objects. An object at the same memory address should be the same object. So that's how hash code works. The equals methods, same as usual. I have an internet resource for this. And there's also a cool thing that we can do. If you go to code and IntelliJ, go to code, generate, and there's an equals and hash code. You can do this for each of your methods, and it will make a very, very solid equals and hash code method. So that's pretty nifty. You can also, just to save time, let me show you. Like, let's say you have this instance variable, principal. You can right-click Show Context Actions, and if I didn't already have getters and setters here, there would be an option to say create getter and setter. It would create both at once. You can just do that for all your instance variables, and it saves a lot of trouble. Same thing with the tools, generate a Javadoc. You can do that for these Javadocs, or you can do something like this. Put that there, and then press enter, and it automatically finds what it's like. If it's returning something, it'll put return here. If there's a bunch of parameters, it'll put a bunch of params down, and then you can fill them out, or you can put your custom summary in, or whatever you want. So that's pretty nifty now that we're going to have to be doing that all the time. So yeah, this bomb class and common stock class extend security, and that's how they're able to use the comparable and valuation interfaces despite not actually implementing them, which is pretty neat. And then for the final thing, we've created, as we already saw, this list. We've added them in. We print them out. They're out of order, but then we sort them, and the sorted list is in order. And if you double check on the homework page, this is the exact order they're supposed to be in. So yeah, that about covers homework 8-2. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Thank you very much.